Hey, welcome to the Jennifer O'Brien Show. I'm your host, Jennifer O'Brien. I'm super excited today. I have two special guests with me. I have Rick Probst. I can't even say that right. Rick Probst. I messed it up. It was sounding so good, like right up until I tried to say your last name.
Take two. Take two.
Take two. And then we got Dan Ratcliffe, and these are the Faith Talk Live guys. I've known you guys. Oh my goodness, are we going on 5?
Forever. We go way back.
Forever. Yeah. So you guys have a show on the Fish Network, Salem Media, and you guys bring on all sorts of guests. And then I just happen to be one of the crazy guests. I can't believe you guys keep having me back on, but I certainly
we got to have the crazy, so that's why you and Robin are there. So
yeah.
Well, we enjoy having you, and for years it was the both of you together.
Yeah.
And then we've had you on separately, and we do love having you together. But I've noticed too that we seem to go a different direction when we have you separate, and we enjoy that as well. So we think both of you are multi-talented, and we appreciate you having us, on your show. So
absolutely, yeah, and it's always fun. I mean, it's a party. First time my sister and I were on the show, I think we had Probst. We had
and I missed that. You used to bring food and everything.
Oh yeah, what was the food I think the first time we came out, it was National Wiener Schnitzel Day.
Yes.
So,
I was checking my desk to see if I still had that somewhere.
I think one of the days.
One time we had chocolate-covered Wiener Schnitzel.
And one day we had chocolate-covered Wiener Schnitzel that looked like the Duck Dynasty guys.
Yeah.
And I think once we hit that mark, we were like, where can we go from here? And
that was the pinnacle. So
and you guys made us, and this was when Donald Trump was running.
Yeah.
This was before he became president.
Right.
You guys made us Trump hair.
Yeah.
And I think Dan's fell apart. I still have mine, or vice versa. I can't remember which one.
Mine crawled away, but you still have yours. So
yeah, that was the women who don't hate Trump. Our whole gimmick was, oh, we don't hate him. No, do we like him? No, but we don't hate him. And then we would wear these obnoxious, we would call them Trump hair pieces. The idea came to me one day, and I thought it was so absurd and ridiculous. And we just ran with it, and we had so much fun. And then we were like, oh my gosh, he actually became our president. We had no idea. We just thought it was a lot of fun. And
a surprise, a surprise to many. A surprise to many.
A surprise to many. And you know what? So much surrounded that guy. Anyway, it's hard to know when to pivot to get political, but he did a lot of good things. I think he had a lot of things against him. And I tell people, hey, I voted for the guy twice, reluctantly. If I get a third chance, I would probably be a lot more happier about it. However, listen, I wouldn't mind some DeSantis coming in and taking over. But, anyway, we don't have to talk politics. But anyway, it's such a taboo subject. Everyone's like, oh, don't say it. Don't say it.
Talk politics. I don't care. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. You bring up a point. We may have talked about this before. I've never seen it. So, and I hate to overuse this word because it's been overused, but polarization. I've seen, I still can't believe it. Great friends not distance themselves from me because I'm not that outgoing. I hate politics, basically.
Yeah.
But I've had friends that worked on the same staff at a church for years and years. I'm talking 20 years.
Yeah.
And then when this thing came up, good, bad, ugly, who you voting for, they separated. And I'm like, are you kidding? You're telling me the politics is stronger than your relationship with that other person? That's sad. That's not a relationship.
Wow.
Yep. Very true.
I never, I've always been very quiet about, even when we did that sketch, The Women Who Don't Hate Trump, it was never even a political move. It was more of a comic sketch. It was more just fun. We were having a good time. It was a fun time to be paying attention to politics. I have been very quiet about who I vote for the most part, because you're like, oh my gosh, people are going to bite your head off if they know. So you found your circle and you kept quiet.
Right.
Unfortunately, I am at a place where it's like, I don't feel like I need to keep quiet anymore, because I think by keeping quiet, unfortunately, a lot of things have come in and we have good being called evil and evil being called good, all because good people chose to just be quiet. And trust me,
Mhm.
I don't think Trump's I don't believe he's a savior or a saint by any means. And I don't claim that this man doesn't have many faults. I'm just looking for somebody to step in and call it out. And he was
Yeah.
somebody,
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
started draining the swamp. I think
He
the
called it
best
like it
thing
was, yeah.
I think the best thing that happened was, and I speak on this too, I think the election was compromised. And actually, I think it was a blessing now that all this has come out. I don't know if you've seen 2000 Mules, but I mean, it at least shows how it was done with the mail-in ballots and how, I mean, we've got concrete proof now
Mm.
that even just with mail-in, we haven't even touched the Dominion machines, which have also were also part of, taking that
Mhm.
election. But you start to I think the blessing of it being and many people, kind of waking up to that, it maybe now for the first time, if they didn't wanna look at it, now a lot of information's coming out. But I think the blessing is we've realized it's gonna take more than a president to fix the problems in our
Yes.
schools
Yes, it is.
Yes.
and, our local elections. So, I think a lot of good people are waking up, and I'm just happen to be like, "God, I don't know how to be quiet anymore. I want my grandkids to be able to now have to question who they are, like,
Yeah.
because, they get, the sway of the time is it's so sad to see what's happening, and I'm like, if this is what happens when good people stay quiet, I'm not gonna do that anymore, and if that means I lose friends, I hope not. I hope people know my character and can judge a tree by its fruit, not necessarily like, why are you voting for this guy? Why are you standing behind these people? It's like, well, hold on. Why don't you just look at everything? I think people just get in their lane and
Right.
can't. And I'll be the first to admit, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on a lot of things. But by the chance that I'm not, my gosh,
Mm.
we got some work to do.
Yeah.
So,
And it's interesting to see how sick people are of politics. I just saw a story today that a recent poll that was just put out, almost 90% of the people that were polled think that companies should stay out of politics and not get involved and and get behind all these political movements. Just stay neutral.
mhm,
We don't care, we don't care who you vote for or whatever. Just put out your product and do what you are in business
sure,
to do and stop
sure.
trying to,
Politicize it.
uh yeah, I love it.
Well, we can get into, I mean, and Jen would know more than I would as far as conspiracies, but I think that politics and corporate, I mean, they've been so intertwined for so long. I don't know that they will ever anymore draw back from that.
Mhm.
In so
Sadly.
many ways, we've crossed the line, not just politics. I mean, look at gender. You look at, we are talking about Roe versus Wade being possibly reversed,
Mhm,
and then
Mhm.
on a state level,
mhm.
which is great.
Yeah,
But there's still, if you watch anything, no matter what the network, the anger of those that are against
Mhm.
what we believe, what I believe in, what I
right,
as far as that, life happens when at conception.
Conception,
right,
yeah.
So sometimes I think, okay, is this a movie? Can I fast forward this? Because these people are not just angry,
right.
they are violently
Violently
angry
angry.
Mhm.
about what they believe, and we don't even have a point. It's to them, it's not life, and it's like, come on, are you serious?
Isn't it so
Yeah.
funny how, just a few months ago, they were all about, like, everybody inject themselves, no choice here, you just mandate, no my body, my choice, and all of a sudden,
Mhm.
get those signs back out, my body, my
My
choice,
body, my choice,
except when it
yeah.
comes to a vaccine that not everybody felt comfortable taking, and nor should they have if they didn't have a piece about it. So, it none of it makes sense, and a lot of times I've learned to follow the money and follow
Yeah.
the people because yeah, there's some angry people out there, but how many of these people now are paid to show up, are paid to shout and all that? And even if not, um, if they really understood, they're not even doing away with abortion. Like it's not even going to become illegal. So it's like I don't know if they just don't get the full picture or the half truths, but it's so sad. And for so long, I was so quiet. I was never like I would just literally be like, "Honey, just tell me if something's going wrong in the world. Like if something big happens, let me know. I don't really want to pay attention. I don't want to look at it." All of a sudden, I feel and it could be my age, I got 2 adult girls. It just could be that, like, I'm out of the weeds with them, and now I'm starting to look at and see what's really happening out here. So not everybody, I think, is called to wake up to this hour and to this battle, but my gosh, I don't know how we can. And I used to kind of be like, okay, I'm a Christian. I keep my mouth shut. We don't want to rock the boat. But I'm like, I don't know how to call myself a Christian and not step out on some of these topics and
Yeah.
not speak against it, because I'm like, hey, then who's going to show up and stand and hold the line here? If it's not us, then who? And just between us, I don't want to go into too many details, but okay. Anyway, let's talk about you guys. Sorry. I get passionate about it because it's just something that I'm like, I've been, these last 2 years have given a lot of people a chance to look at things that maybe we were too busy before, or maybe it just was so under the radar. But now the evil is like, it's in
Yep.
your face. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Disney wants to do what to the kids? Wants to have
Mhm.
what? Come on. It's just, I'm over it. So anyway, that's the happy conversation we're on today. So let's just talk about something else, because that's not why I brought you guys on here. I'd love to hear more about you guys, and tell us, how you guys got started in radio. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do. And I know last week we just had this beautiful put together lunch at the Cobb Energy Center, where you guys
We
hosted.
made that lunch just for you, Jen.
Yes, yes,
Rick
we
and I
did.
spent
That
all
risotto
night
was amazing.
cooking.
The
Yeah.
risotto was amazing.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
you look, all these women in ministry just for you guys. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do, and just you guys take it.
What do we do, Dan?
What
is
do
it
we
that
do? We're not. We get paid to to get on and talk to people like Jen O'Brien, and it's really a simple job. We work for like an hour a day. I think, Rick, is that right? Hour and a half a day,
Or a little
Love
less.
it. I
or a
love
little
it.
less. Yeah, and that's about it. No, I got into radio years ago, and basically because I had a face for radio, and still do.
He said
And
it.
that's about all I could do
I don't think
was
so.
talk. And I love playing music, and I was just always fascinated with radio and people who talked on the radio and
Mhm.
voices and stuff. And so I said, I want to do that for a living. And so I've been doing it for a living
Wow.
now for blah, 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 blah years.
You speaking in tongues there?
I am. Yes, indeed.
Okay. So that's always been your passion. And then,
Mhm.
Rick, how'd you get started in the radio?
Well, pretty close the same. I think I wanted to be an entertainer. I was a
Mhm.
musician and wanted to do comedy.
Hence the
And so
beard.
all that kind of works together, and liked bands, music. So, I thought, okay, well, this is awesome. I
Mhm.
hear people on the radio playing their favorite tunes,
Yeah.
and to do that would be awesome, to be great. So I started doing it. I went to school for it. I think Dan went to college for something else.
Mhm.
Wow.
But I went to school to be in radio and television. I think-
Broadcasting
Yeah,
school.
there you go. Not,
Broadcasting school.
it was not CBS. It was not
That's
CBS
good.
Incorporated, which was
No.
one of those television broadcast commercials. Hey, how would you like to make, $500,000 a year? Go through this school, and then on the other end of it, you'll be a famous.
And you
disc
don't make
jockey.
it that much money.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
This,
Yeah.
the same thing, and just used to do go out and do what do they call those things these days, where you take your stereos and for kids that would want to dance or whatever, and you'd be the
Mhm.
DJ, mobile DJ, or
Mhm.
what. Did a
Oh.
little bit of that, and actually worked at one of the high schools I went to had a station on the inside. It was a really large high school, but
Mhm.
I think that's really where the bug bit was, that
Mhm.
in 10th grade, I
Okay.
went to a high school that had a radio station that played throughout the entire, and it was set up like a radio station. It was really
Nice.
cool. And I think that's what did it. I actually got to sit down and do it.
Mhm.
And then eventually went to school. And then, much like Dan, I'm sure, your first job is in some cornfield. And
Mhm.
I was in the middle of a cornfield in Pennsylvania, and we were
Wow.
playing, Christopher Cross and
Uh-huh.
Oh boy.
and Eagles and stuff like that. So,
Woo.
fast for somewhat. How many? Let's see. What year are we now?
Bloop, 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 We can do the Dan thing. I've been ready years.
Well, 40 some years. So
wow, come on.
Yeah,
so long. So you both were like, radio, that's what we want to do. And then how did you two merge? Because you've had this Faith Talk live show for quite a while. Tell us about how that kind of.
Dan, you want to talk about that? I mean, we didn't look for it. It kind of found us, didn't it?
Yeah, Rick and I worked together. I mean, gosh, we've been working together for how long have you been here, Rick? 17 years? You said 16, 17 years?
Maybe 17. I can't remember.
Yeah, he came on, and I was working on The Fish at the time, and I was a production director, and he was brought on to help with production and whatnot, and we just kind of hit it off right away, and we'd walk to a Starbucks every day and still do whenever we're here, and we just kind of hit it off and kind of have the same sense of humor. And eventually they saw that and they said, you guys, instead of doing this in the hallway, why don't you go in a studio and do this and do it on a show? And the rest is, as they say, is history.
Wow.
Yeah, we would do, I mean, we weren't doing it for people. We were just doing it because we do have the same. I mean, there are times that I'll not finish a sentence because I'm trying to think, I know what I want to say, and Dan will finish it.
I'll finish your sandwich for you. That's right.
Or he'll say something funny, and it was just in my mind a second ago. And so we kind of have the same, even though I'm older, we have the same humor, and we would crack each other up in the hallways. In fact, one day, remember, we were out in the hallway. We work in this building. You've been in the building. It's what, how many, 8 floors? And there are different, not just radio stations here, but there's like lawyers and dentists and doctors. And so one day, Dan and I, was it just you and I, or was somebody with us? I
think we had our third banana with us.
We had a third banana, and we happened to be in front of a whatever it was, a lawyer or somebody. And we were cracking each other up, waiting on the elevator. And the lady that I'm assuming was the receptionist opened the door and said, "What, are you guys in middle school?" So we were too loud, and that made us made us laugh.
As a matter of fact, we are.
Made us want to do even more.
Yeah.
So we just basically did it all in the hallway, and they just said, "Okay, we better put this in a cage." So they threw us in a cage.
Wow. So that was the beginnings. And look, here you guys are now. How many years have you guys been doing the show together?
Gosh, what?
I think we figured 7 years, 6, 7 years.
6 or 7. It was May 5th, because we used to have we did something about May 5th for years. We would do
the anniversary show that we would do.
Anniversary show. One of the first guests we had, in fact, it was in May, if I'm not mistaken. Toby Mac was one of probably our biggest guest. Wasn't that at the end of May one year? Somehow we got Toby Mac. It was either May or June.
He was in town for releasing an album or something like that, and we got him. That was a fun show.
Jeff Foxworthy was a good one. I mean,
wow, I didn't know Jeff was on your show. Very cool. Like I'm first name. I'm like Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, us and Jeff. And Ken Kington, we used to have him on all the time.
Yeah.
He doesn't answer our calls anymore for some reason.
Man, he's ghosting you. I'm sorry. Hey, I answered the call. So that's cool. Like, so you're dropping some names. So these are some cool, any other, like, okay, I know you can't. First off, any other like cool guests that you were like, oh man, this was like.
Well, Anita Renfro, she was always fun. I mean, we love comedians just because we love to laugh and have a good time.
You guys are comedians. Like, I think that's why we love coming on.
We're comedian wannabes. We don't get paid to be comedians.
I mean, if I stood up and did what you do so well, it would sound like a dad jokes. I mean, it would be. People would roll their eyes.
I don't know if I can agree with that statement. I think you guys are funny guys, and
well, you know what I think. I think what keeps us, and I know I think Dan and I are so spontaneous.
Yeah,
I think that if we had to stick with a script or a set or a list,
right?
I mean, we do know where we're going when we're talking to a guest because we have it on paper,
sure,
basically. But we'll just veer off like we did with you today. You were on our show today, and we just kind of went wherever we wanted to go. And I think the spontaneity in us, I think we've done it for so long, it's easy for us, and it's fun. And we laugh at that, so if it wasn't spontaneous, I think we'd be bored. It'd be terrible. And
It's like an improv, and I think that's why we all connect. So some of the
Yeah.
improv games we've been
Yeah.
able to play with you guys, and
We've
there
had
is
fun with those
something.
improv games.
Oh,
Those,
Oh,
you
we
guys.
need to do we need to all 4 of we need to do the O'Brien sisters come back on Faith Talk,
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
plugging that, but it's fun to play, and you're right, there is a spontaneity to what we're doing in radio and just having the conversation that you're not held to that script, so
Yeah.
I kinda
Mhm.
like that too. I think it does it's fun. There's
Well,
something
Yep.
that you just don't quite know how it's gonna go, but
well, too, and I think that's the beauty of having a guest like when you're on our show
Mhm,
and we have other guests. I mean, Dan and I probably could pull off an entire show and do what we do. I
mhm,
think it would wear us out. I think, for what we do, how long do we do it for? 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever it is that we do. We do our own first segment. And
mhm.
that's when I'll bring up stuff in the news or odds and ends,
Yeah.
like a guy last week. What did he balance a chainsaw on his chin and broke a record?
For a world record.
Yeah,
Why do we
yeah,
have this world record? We're
yeah.
not
So,
sure, but
yeah. So we'll talk about stuff like that, or we'll talk about, the sports teams, what's going on with them, or
Yeah.
sometimes we'll touch on politics, but it's very light,
Keep it light.
and
Mhm,
we don't take a side, because we don't feel like that's our place
mhm.
in that format.
Right.
But
Mhm.
but I think when we bring people like you and other guests, um, you have what you do, and then we can interject, what we think about what you do and enjoy. We'll bring things up like we did today on the show with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
The 10 things, the top 10 list we were going to do with you.
Yeah.
That's fun to us. So
Yeah. Keep it light, keep it fun.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's always I always enjoy coming on the show. I hear an echo now. Oh, that's so weird.
Thank you.
Um, okay, now it's gone. You did something happened.
I
There you
did.
go.
So, okay,
Woo!
I know we're gonna wrap it up but I would love to have you guys come back on, and then, hey, maybe we could play some games or something,
Oh,
but,
that'd be
uh,
awesome.
That would
I
be fun. We
now
love
that
games.
we know the cool guests you have what just leave on this like, what's been the hardest interview that you guys are just, like, inside, you're just, like and you don't have to mention the name or
Yeah,
names,
we won't mention the name,
but,
but
like, that you guys, like, when that guest is gone, you guys are like, "Oh my gosh, like, were you feeling that?" I mean, like, have you ever had I'm imagining, 7 years in radio, you have to have had
we've had a couple.
a
Yeah,
few of
had a
those.
couple.
Well, if I can step out there, Dan's probably thinking what I'm going to say, and I
Mhm.
have to be careful because this is someone in Atlanta
Mhm,
that we had in the studio. It's a famous person,
mhm,
and the person was a musician on the side, a very
mhm,
good musician,
mhm,
but they're actually known for what they do for a living.
Mhm.
mhm.
And so this person is an amazing person at what they do.
Right.
But we brought them in. They had
Mhm.
just written a book.
Yeah,
And so usually if people have a book or a podcast or a show coming up, we like to talk about that.
yeah.
And we also like to talk about your family. Hey, tell us more about, Jen and Max's kids, or,
Mhm,
Robin's kids, blah, blah,
mhm.
blah. And so we started off, and I don't even remember where we started off, but he did not want to talk about his book.
It was crickets. Yeah.
We
Wow.
asked about his family, did not want to talk about his family, and it was yes, no, pretty cut and dry answers. And
Wow.
I said something about him being busy, and well, he didn't like the word busy because that meant whatever it meant. And so
Wow.
it kind of went south really, really quick.
Mhm.
And we had asked him to bring his instrument because
Yeah.
we had seen him play before in
Yeah,
another venue,
yeah,
and he was really good.
yeah.
So after one segment with him, I'd used up all my bullets, and I was honestly soaking wet from sweat
Yeah.
because I didn't
Because
know
we had
where
3 other segments to
we had
fill.
three we had three more
Wow.
to go.
Wow.
So I just thought, okay, here's a shot. In between the break, I think I said, or maybe it was even in the beginning of the live next segment. I said, "What bands did you listen to when you're growing up? You maybe
Yeah,
inspired you to play what you play because you're so good." And he really is. I mean, the guy
yeah.
can do anything on that instrument.
Wow.
Well, something opened that door because after that, it flowed so free. So that taught me something. I was glad to get it over with.
Yeah.
But it taught me something, is that sometimes we have to find what is it, and be nice for me to say, okay, Jen, what do you want to talk about? And you talk about that. We actually didn't have a chance to talk to that him and ask him what he wanted to talk about. We assumed because, well, that's what we were told.
He had written a book. That's what we were supposed to talk about. Yeah.
And, you know, you work through press people and PR people and that kind of thing. So you take them at what they want to talk about.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to talk. He didn't want to talk about that. And I'm not sure he really knew what he wanted to talk about. But when we talked about music, that blew it wide open, and the rest of the show was manageable, doable, and not as, what word would describe what it had been? It was painful.
It was rough. It was painful.
It was excruciating.
But then we found his passion, and that's what he was.
Boom.
I mean, it was great.
You're like, who is this guy? Okay.
And my personality, honest to God, if you boil it down, if we take the lights off and the camera off, I'm a guy. Okay, well, we'll never do that again. Shut the door. See, you wouldn't want to be you.
Right.
I'm pretty cut and dry. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I did learn something, again, like Dan said, which was perfect word, passion. What is your passion? If we can get into Jen O'Brien's passion, besides her family, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What
Conspiracies. There it is right there.
Yeah. And so
you guys know it now.
Yeah. And you open that door and you just ride along with that person, and you just kind of have to help them, because of the fact, now you not so much, because podcasts, I think you could do whatever, an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. But for Dan and I, we are on a time schedule, so we have to kind of guide them.
You guys are good.
Yeah. And so we've been doing it for so long, we kind of know what we're doing.
There you go. Well, there it is. Well, that'll help me if I'm ever in a situation where I bring a guest on and I'm like floundering, although I'm not in the confines. You guys actually have a radio show that does really well and does an incredible, job here in the Atlanta-based area. You have all sorts of incredible people on, and it's a great show. So besides people finding you on Faith Talk, just tell us, I know you each have a podcast, just as we wrap it up, just kind of tell people where they can find you and where you're at, all that good stuff.
Good, Dan.
The podcast, I do a podcast with my son Joshua called what do I call it? It's been so long now.
Teen Talk. Teen Talk.
I tried to find it the other day. Yeah, what is it called?
Teen Talk with Dan and Joshua, and we just talk about things going on in the lives of teens these days, because they face so much junk at school and with friends and whatnot. So we talk about that and kind of get his perspective on the world. So that's fun.
Mine is called It's a Thought. Hey, it's a thought. And I basically take, it's different. This may be something that I'm wrestling with, relationships, whatever. Why does this make me, react the way I do, and how, going to the scripture, how it's helped me and how it can help others. I talked about the Hillsong thing. And I just basically looked at it in a different way. I mean, we're all pretty exhausted with things like that happen, whether we're, believe that camp or that slice of Christianity is really effective or whatever. But I thought that here it is, another story. And I think that in the culture that we're living in, I think that, if we want to call it the world, the people that are outside not following Christ are like, okay, well, told you, blah, blah, blah. And that's true. Things like that should never happen, but they do. And I think when they do, we have to react like Jesus would react, or he would expect us as the church. That whole story, I think there's so many dynamics to what is wrong with it. Sometimes things get so large, you can't stop that monster. You got to keep feeding it.
Yeah.
And you don't have accountability, and you don't allow somebody to speak into your own life. And, just things that definitely were amiss, in that someone needed to go to someone else for that need to be met instead of their spouse or their partner or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's so many stuff, but all that being said, something happened that was wrong. And there's been so much good come out of that that camp, if you will,
Right.
I call it a camp, a movement, whatever.
Right.
Then how do we react? A lot of people today we live in a culture, it's like it's all or nothing, or we just say, oh, you did something wrong. Well, we don't care for you anymore.
Canceled.
You're canceled. You're irrelevant. And I
Mhm.
don't believe that's the case. I believe that, okay, yes, something wrong happened. It shouldn't have happened, but it did happen.
Mhm.
Now, how are we going to treat that person? And Paul wrote in the scripture, he said, you restore a brother if a
Mhm.
brother can be restored. Now, if the
Right.
guy can't be restored, you can't do a thing about it.
Mhm.
But at this point, you say, okay, there's mercy,
Yeah.
there's grace, and
Mhm.
there's truth. And Jesus said, I came with a word that is both spirit and truth. So he didn't just come with the hatchet.
Right.
He came in with a spirit of grace and love and mercy.
Yes.
And I think in every situation is different. It's
Mhm.
not a general. But I went all that. I just stepped on my platform there and preached. But
Yeah.
I talk about stuff like that. Are we handling these things correctly as the church, as Jesus would want us to handle them?
Oh, that's good.
And so,
Mhm.
I think we just get, all wound up and just say, well, to heck with him, forget all that they've ever done. No, that's not the case.
Right.
Mhm.
I believe that they love Jesus. I believe that they're preaching the message of Jesus. It may not been some of the things that I would have preached, but I'm different.
Right.
I don't have to answer for Hillsong. I have to answer for me.
Yeah.
But I
Mhm.
do know that if somebody's going to do that,
Mhm.
and that particular thing, I
Mhm.
mean, it could be with money. People preach, televangelists, preachers stealing money. I mean, it's wrong, absolutely.
Right.
But you got to go back and say, okay, well, we don't cancel them. We try to restore them. If they're not restorable, if they don't want it, they don't have to.
Right.
But we have to act like Christians and not like, see, they're all like that. All
Right.
Mhm.
Radcliffes are the same. You see
Yeah.
that? They're all the
True.
Uh-oh.
same.
Coming for you,
So,
Dan. It's coming for you. Yeah.
anyway, sorry to take up so much, but anyway, so it's
Well,
not
that's
all
good.
that heavy on
Yeah.
mine, but there are
Yeah.
times that I speak with, like, the slap heard around the world with Will Smith and Chris
Oh
Rock.
gosh. Right.
To me they both were wrong.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
that's me.
Mhm.
That's my opinion. So
Oh, so that's cool. So you kinda just whatever maybe is going streaming through,
it could be
it's whatever.
it could be that,
Mhm.
or it could be, like I said, personal.
Mhm.
Like for me, it's like, what am I talking about this week? I'm talking about, well, it seems like I'm always talking about relationships because it just seems, I get so focused on one area
Mhm.
and, giving no grace. There are times I give no grace or give no mercy, but I
Right.
expect grace and mercy. That's got to change,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know?
Well, it's good. You gotta start we gotta start with ourselves and
Yeah.
as we can be transparent and share our weaknesses, our struggles, I think it helps set others free. So cool. So
Yeah.
we'll put a link to both y'all's podcasts and then Faith Talk Live is your radio show, and that could be heard
Mhm.
on AM 590. And then I think they replay it on 940,
AM 970. Yep.
970.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I'll make sure I put all that in the show notes. And guys, thanks for coming on today. This has been fun. Well, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Let's do it
Like,
again.
Yeah.
let's
Let's
do it
do it
again.
again.
Let's
Thank
play
you,
some
Okay.
Jen.
games next time.
I
Yeah.
know. Let's
Let's
do it.
do it.
We'll plan it. All right. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.